Hello, my name is Dr. Nasir Khan. I passed my PLAB 2 exam recently, and after I passed my PLAB 2, I applied for 181 jobs in the UK. Can you imagine applying for 181 jobs in Pakistan? Well, I cannot. And honestly, I could have applied for 500 jobs or more, but I stopped after 181 because I knew that I would find a job from these 181 jobs, and I did. I had 22 interview offers. I appeared in 8 of them, 7 of them on Skype, and I had 4 job offers. So I chose Portsmouth's Queen Alexandra Hospital to work in the UK. Now, all of this goes to show that there are hundreds of jobs available at any given time in the UK. The UK has more jobs and less doctors. So the UK is going through a shortage of doctors these days. Anyhow, throughout my journey to the UK, I felt that the road to the UK was very easy because I felt that the exams were very easy. And like I said, I found out that getting a job in the UK was also very easy. Now, I wanted to share this message with others. I wanted to tell others that the road to the UK is very easy. So for this purpose, I made a website, nasirsjourney.com. How many of you here have been to my website? You can raise your hands to show me. Okay, good, thank you. So, seeing the positive response that my website received, I decided to have career guidance sessions in Karachi. I've had 8 sessions so far. I have another session today in Karachi. So that is why I'm not here in Lahore in person, and I'm very sorry about that. But I'm very thankful to the organizers for arranging today's session and for asking me to record this video. So I hope this benefits all of you. And I was given a very interesting topic. I was asked to compare the PLAB exam with the USMLE. Now, after we graduate from medical school, in fact, even before we graduate, most people prefer to go for the USMLE. Now, I don't know about this crowd, but how many people here want to go for the USMLE? You can raise your hands to show me. Okay, good. And how many of you here want to go for PLAB? Again, you can raise your hands to show me if you want to go for PLAB. Nice, interesting. Okay, so I was asked to compare them and I've prepared a few slides, so I'll share them with you now. Now, the USMLE takes a lot of studying, so more studying, because you have to study from your basic sciences subjects, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, you have to study from all of those. So you have to study your 5 years of MBBS subjects. But for PLAB only tests your clinical sciences, which means medicine, surgery, gynae-obs, pediatrics, psychiatry, ENT, and ophthalmology. So for PLAB, you only have to focus on your final year subjects. And 90% of PLAB comes from medicine. So for this reason, you don't have to study a lot for PLAB. Preparation time for the USMLE is a lot. People spend, it takes roughly 12 months for your step 1, 3 to 6 months for step 2. But overall, if you take a look at it, USMLE's preparation can take 2 to 3 years. For PLAB, it takes a lot less than that. I know it can be very hard to believe, but PLAB 1 can be easily managed in 3 to 4 months. In fact, most people spend 2 to 4 months on PLAB 1, and I know a lot of people who've passed PLAB 1 in a month or less with preparation for just 2 to 4 weeks. You can go to my website and you can find these people's experiences. And you can ask your seniors as well. PLAB 2's preparation also takes less time. For PLAB 2, you have to go to the UK because it's only held in Manchester. PLAB 1 is held in Karachi and in Islamabad, but PLAB 2 is only held in Manchester, so you have to go to England for that. And you have to attend a course as well. So the course is for 2 to 3 weeks. After the course, you should spend 2 to 4 weeks for self-practice. But again, overall, PLAB 2 takes a month or two's preparation. So compared to the USMLE, preparation takes a lot less for PLAB 1 and PLAB 2. And for this reason, it's very difficult to study for your USMLE with a job. You'll see that most of your friends who are studying for their steps would probably not have a job. They would go to the library in the morning, come back home in the evening or night. So they would just be focused on their studies. But PLAB can be very easily managed with a job. I myself passed my IELTS and my PLAB 1 during my house job, and so did most of my friends. So for this reason, I say it's very easy to manage your PLAB with your house job. And honestly, I downloaded questions on my phone, and I used to go through questions on my phone throughout my day. Like, you just have to go through around 3,000 questions on your phone. So I downloaded them on my phone. I used to wake up in the morning, go through 5 questions before I get fresh, 5 questions after I get fresh, 5 questions during my breakfast, 20 questions on my way to work. So anyhow, by the time that I used to get back from work, I would have gone through 100 to 200 questions. So if I had met my daily target of 200, I would not study anymore. But if I hadn't gone through my target of 200, I would just sit down for an hour or half, complete my target, and then watch at least 3 to 4 hours of TV shows every single day. It was very important for me to catch up on my TV shows. So honestly, I gave more time to my TV shows and less time to my PLAB. So I did not sit down and highlight my book for hours and hours and hours. I studied on the go, and I never studied after 5 p.m. So that is how easy PLAB was for me. And you know how people study for their steps. So, and by the way, I want to tell you that I was never a class topper. Passing scores in my school were always 50%, and I always scored 51 to 55%. And again, I'll be very honest, I failed more than half of my class tests in medical school. I never passed any of my mock exams. I always did pass my final exams by a very small margin, so I never failed my finals, but I never passed my mock exams, and I failed more than half of my class tests. I'm just telling this to give you an idea that I was not a class topper, I was an average student, and still I passed PLAB very comfortably. I studied for my PLAB only for 3 to 4 months, and for some personal reason, I was not able to study for my PLAB 1 for 1 whole month before my exam. So just a week before my PLAB 1, I took a leave of absence from my house job, and I thought that I would study very hard for my PLAB, but during that 1 week, I ended up watching 3 movies every single day. So I didn't study even during that week. And my parents used to ask me, they used to say, Nasir, you're not studying. How can you pass this exam if you're not studying? And I used to tell them that the exam is so easy. I used to tell them that I would pass. So it's not that I've passed it and I find it easy now. I used to find it easy even back then. After my PLAB 1, when I got home after my exam, my parents asked me, how did it go? And I told them that it was the easiest exam of my life. I told them that it was easier than my class tests from medical school. And I did pass, even without studying, for 1 whole month before my PLAB 1. I still passed it. Anyway, I'm very sorry for going into these details, but I thought it was important to share. So this is why it is very, very easy to study for your PLAB with your job. And like I said, the exams are easy. USMLE, you know, it's not easy. USMLE has 3 parts: USMLE Step 1, USMLE Step 2 CK, Step 2 CS, and if you count Step 3 as well, so it's 4 exams. PLAB only has 2 exams. PLAB 1, a theory-based exam, and PLAB 2, an OSCE-based exam. Now, if you pass your USMLE Step 1, you cannot take it again to improve your scores. So in this way, it's a single shot exam, you cannot retake it. PLAB is a multiple shot exam, you can take it 4 times, but most people pass their PLAB 1 in their first attempt, so they don't have to take it again. So don't worry about this, but it's just important to know, all of this was important to know. So for these reasons, I felt that PLAB was a lot easier than the USMLE. So, but it doesn't end here. I have more slides. So the USMLE has a higher passing score. Step 1's passing score is around 75%. PLAB 1's passing score is 60 to 65%. PLAB 2's passing score is 48 to 53%. So very low passing scores. And scores don't matter in PLAB. In USMLE, you have to get a very high score. So if your score in step 1 is less than 220, it's very difficult to get a match. Not impossible, but difficult. In PLAB, no one cares about your scores. I had a very low score in PLAB 1 because I couldn't study for a month before my exam. And I got a very high score in PLAB 2 because I was told that the way that I talk would help me in the exam. So talking softly, sweetly, politely, saying thank you, sorry, and kindly, all of that helps in your PLAB 2, and that matters more than your knowledge. They don't really test your knowledge, they do, but not really. As long as you're nice and soft, you cannot fail your PLAB 2. So anyway, the point is, scores don't matter. I can get 61%, you can get 99%, and both of us would have equal opportunities everywhere. So I thought it was important to mention. Now the USMLE costs somewhere in around 2 to 3 million Pakistani rupees, which means 20 to 30 lakh Pakistani rupees. PLAB only costs 5 to 8 lakh Pakistani rupees. Now this includes your IELTS fees, your PLAB 1 fees, PLAB 2 fees, your visa fees, your airplane tickets to the UK for Manchester, your course academy fees for PLAB 2. It also includes your traveling expenses within the UK, your living expenses, your food expenses, your GMC registration as well, and then the cost of coming back to Pakistan. So 5 to 8 lakh rupees covers everything for PLAB, everything. So it costs a lot less. And then when you get a job in the UK like I've done, and now I again have to go to the UK, I'll get my first paycheck at the end of the month. So I'll again need money for my visa, for my traveling and living expenses for a month. And that totals to around 4 to 6 lakh rupees. So that with 5 to 8 lakh rupees combines to a total of 10 to 15 lakh rupees for everything for your PLAB. So 1 to 1.5 million, which is again, it's less than half of what the USMLE costs. So the cost is a lot less. And I tell people that they can afford their cost for PLAB from their house job salary and from their MO job salary as well. And the cost needed for moving to the UK for their first job, that doesn't feel much because you do get your first paycheck at the end of the month. So that doesn't feel like a very big burden. Anyway, to summarize, the cost is a lot less. The USMLE, after you pass your USMLE, there are less jobs in the US and more in the UK. I'll give you an example. Last year, only 52% IMGs got a match in the US, which means roughly out of every 2 people who passed their USMLE, only 1 got a job in the US. Compared to that, everyone who passes their PLAB does find a job in the UK. You will never find anyone who has passed their PLAB and has not been able to find a job in the UK. And the most important thing for getting a job in the UK is your clinical experience. So research, audits, attachments in the UK, they help, but even if you don't have that, you'll still find a job in the UK as long as you've done your house job, as long as even after your house job you've been working as an RMO or an MO in Pakistan, you will find your job. For the US, your local exposure counts a lot. Now what I mean by that is that having electives and attachments and observerships in the US is very important for getting a job in the US. Now that makes a very small difference in the UK. I did not have any attachments in the UK and I still found a job, and most of my friends had no attachments in the UK and they still found jobs. So attachment or local exposure in the UK is not important. Again, I'll stress on this very much, that make sure that you complete your house job in Pakistan, 12 months of house job, with at least 3 months in medicine, at least 3 months in surgery, and with no gaps, because that will become a problem later on. And even after your house job finishes, continue working as an MO in the UK. Continue working as an MO in Pakistan. Do not be jobless in Pakistan, because that is what's going to help you in getting your first job in the UK. Now, since the USMLE takes a lot of studying, a lot of time, a lot of preparation, so it's a very long journey. So getting your first job takes time. PLAB takes less time overall, so getting your first job takes less time. For most people, they do find their first job in the UK within a year of completing their house job in Pakistan. Now, lastly, I won't say much about the US visa policy. You know how things are. this year there were a lot of people who got a match in the US, which means they got a job in the US, but they still could not get a visa. Now that is very unfortunate, and it can be very frustrating. I'm not saying that you cannot go to the US. I believe that if you work hard, then anything is possible. Anyhow, the visa policy for the UK is very friendly, and as long as you fill your visa application properly, you will get your visa. I myself had 2 visa refusals because of my own mistakes, because I had never traveled abroad and I did not know how to fill the visa application. So it was my own mistake, and that was the purpose, that was the whole reason for making this blog and for sharing all of this with you, so others don't go through visa refusals. So I felt it was important. Anyhow, overall, I just feel that the UK journey is a lot easier. But again, it doesn't end here. I've prepared another slide to compare working conditions in the UK with working conditions in the US. So entry into the system is very easy into the UK because the exams are easy and because finding a job is easy. Compared to that, the exams are difficult in the US, and getting your first job in the US is also difficult. Not impossible. I believe, like I said, with hard work, anything is possible. Now, entry into training is not direct in the UK, but it's direct in the US. Now, what I mean by that is, your first job in the UK is not a training job. Your first job in the US is a training job. Now, a lot of people ask me what a training job is. So your house job or your residency in Pakistan is a training job because you're moving forwards in your career. At the end of your residency, you will become a consultant. So that's a training job. If you're working as an MO in Pakistan, that is a non-training job because there's no career progression. You'll be an MO for the rest of your life if you don't get into a residency program. So that is a non-training job. So your first job in the UK is a non-training job. My first job is also a non-training job. But after having worked for 6 to 12 months at a non-training post, most people do find training in the UK. Well, getting into medicine training is very easy. Getting into surgical training is hard, it's difficult, but not impossible. So anyway, entry into training is not direct in the UK. The US arguably has the best training system in the world. The UK also has a pretty good training system, by the way. Now, the duration of training varies. In the UK, family medicine, which is known as GP training, is for 3 years. Medicine and surgery are for 8 years. A&E or pediatrics and psychiatry are roughly for 6 years. Compared to this, in the US, family medicine and internal medicine are only for 3 years. General surgery is for 5 years and neurosurgery is for 8 years. So the length of training varies. This is something that you can find out by going to Google. Now, working hours. This is my favorite part. Working hours in the US are pretty much the same as working hours in Pakistan. In fact, a bit more difficult. There are some training programs which have 136 hours per week. Now, keep in mind that a week only has 160 to 170 hours. Overall, working hours in the US are 80 to 110 hours per week. In the in the UK, it's half of that. So only 40 to 48 hours per week. Now, the interesting thing is, working hours are 9 to 5. So from 9 in the morning to 5 in the evening, 8 hours per day, 5 days a week. So that makes it 40 hours per week. 8 into 5, it's 40. But there are night shifts as well. So night shift is a 12-hour shift. So the longest shift in the UK is a 12-hour shift. So you don't have to work 36 hours like you have to do in Pakistan. So I feel this is a privilege, working just for 12 hours. And if you're working 12 hours on Monday, you'll get compensatory off for that for the next 2 to 3 days to make sure that you're not working more than 40 hours per week. Now my personal contract says that I'll be working 40 hours per week. With nights, it's 44 hours per week for me. But you get 27 holidays every year. So 9 holidays every 4 months. And now, if you, and this doesn't include Saturdays and Sundays, by the way, and Saturdays are off in the UK. So if I take 9 days off and include Saturdays and Sundays in that, so I would get 16 days off straight without a gap. Now that is a lot. So it's like taking 2 weeks off every 4 months. And if I include that in my working hours as well, I'm only working 38 hours per week. 38 hours per week. Can you imagine? I was working 36 hours in Pakistan, 36 hours shift. So a single shift used to be for 36 hours. And here, I'll be working just 38 hours per week. So I think it's very relaxed. Starting salary is roughly the same in the UK and the US. £2,700 in the UK, $3,200 in the US. It's pretty much the same. There's no difference. However, consultants get paid double in the US compared to consultants in the UK. But I want you to know that what consultants get paid in the UK, 75,000 to 100,000 pounds per year, even that is more than enough. It is more than what you need. So you can live a pretty luxurious life with the salary that you get as a consultant in the UK. Lastly, the UK is a welfare state and the US is not. And I thought it was very important to share this, and I wanted to explain what a welfare state is. So a welfare state means that the state is responsible for its people. Now, what I mean by that is that your children's education and your healthcare is going to be free, and your family's healthcare as well. Now, when people used to tell me that healthcare is free, my concept was that OPD would be free, that ward admission would be free, that medications would be free, discharge medication would be free, but it doesn't end here. I'll share an interesting story here. So when I was in the UK for PLAB 2, I had a friend with me, and her uncle lived in London, and her uncle had a heart attack. So her uncle went to the hospital, and when he was being discharged, they found out that his home was slightly uphill. So it was not possible for him, because of his heart attack, to climb up that uphill pathway. So the government installed railing on that pathway so he could hold on to that railing and climb that pathway on the government's expenses. It doesn't end here. They found out that in his home, his bedroom was on the first floor and his washroom and his kitchen were on the ground floor. So they installed a chairlift, so because he could not climb the stairs. So they installed a chairlift so he could go upstairs and come back downstairs. All of that on the government expenses. So when I say free healthcare, that is what I mean. It means that the government takes care of you at your home and at your workplace as well. So I feel that is a very good advantage of living in the UK, and it's something that you don't get in the US because healthcare is not free in the US. So anyway, I felt that all of this was very important to share. If any of you has any questions, you can always go to my website, naseerjourney.com. You can also go to my Facebook page and ask questions. But I have a very small request. If you have any questions, it would be best if you go to official websites first, then go to different blogs, my blog, Dr. Umar Alam's blog, or different Facebook groups, post your questions there. And even then, if your questions are not answered, then you can message me and other people in personal messages via inbox. Now lastly, after all of this comparison, I want to ask the same question again. After this, how many people here want to go for the USMLE? Okay. And how many people here now, after this, want to go for PLAB or the UK? Thank you, thank you. Again, I'm very sorry for not being here, but I'm very thankful to the organizers for arranging the event and for all of you for attending the event. If anyone has any questions, you can always reach me. Again, thank you and good luck and God bless Pakistan.